श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् नमः श्रीशङ्करानन्द गुरुपादाम्बुजन्मने सविलासमहामोह ग्राहग्रासैककर्मणे. So in the last class, we have completed what we refer to as the Sravanam. Yeah, Sravanam portion. In a way, it is completed, although the topic will continue in terms of Mahavakya Vivek. What we completed is more in terms of the Yukti and Anubhuti. How do I say this Yukti and Anubhuti? Means logically we have proved sort of that the consciousness, which is the actual I, is somehow getting mixed up with the inert layers, and this particular consciousness appears to be one with the inert layers. And what are these inert layers Swamiji has taken up in this particular section was the 5 koshas. Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, and Anandamaya kosha. So these 5 koshas are basically inert by nature. Yeah, definitely Annamaya kosha, the experience is very clear. Once the consciousness leaves the physical body doesn't have a consciousness of its own, which will keep it alive. The life force seems to be something different. And as soon as that life force leaves, the body drops, and we know that it quickly merges back into the 5 elements with which it is created for a temporary purpose. So Shastras define the 5 so-called 5 koshas appear to be enlivened by the pranas, somehow appear sentient for a period of time, and then it goes back to its elements. So here the 5 koshas that as long as they are alive, as long as the body is kept alive by this prana, the forces of prana, it appears as if the consciousness is one with this inert layer. And similarly with your mind and with your intellect and Anandamaya kosha, all the 5 koshas, as such it is exactly appears to be one with them, and you cannot separate them out physically. But what we said in the last one, Swamiji has given one example of this long-stemmed munja grass. Munja grass is a type of a grass which has got a central core, soft core, covered by certain leaves which are there. And people who are skillful enough require to take these leaves out very, very carefully, skillfully, delicate task, and then they can separate out this central core, which used to have certain utility for the people who are doing that. But this particular task requires full attention and complete persistence for them to achieve this separation. So here, Swamiji says that similarly, one needs to use logic. Yukti is the one which is required here. And how do we know? In verse 42, the word is used by him. Yuktya samudhrita. So this yukta samudhrita is the one which actually says by expertly segregating. So similarly, yuktya, one need to separate out the consciousness from the inert layers and recognize that consciousness as real you, not the inert layers or inert portions. Example we have given was that if a lake is in total darkness, you can't see the world inside the lake. Whatever may be there inside in terms of frogs, in terms of flowers, in algae, fish, you name it, anything can be there in the water, but one cannot see them unless there is a light which is falling on that particular lake. Suddenly, the light becomes one with the water. And as long as the light is present, one is able to recognize as if the lake has come alive. One is able to look at that particular lake and make out the complete life that is there inside the lake. The light appears to be one with the water. But we know that in our daily experience, sunlight may be there during the daytime, but the moment sun goes down, the lake becomes dark and you can't make out what is there inside that particular lake. This is an example where the light is coming and going, so you can see the distinction. However, when it comes to our consciousness and the inert layers that we talk about, there is no time when the consciousness is not present. In fact, many of the Upanishads keep on insisting that this particular consciousness, the element which is there, the Bhagwan, is not anywhere else. He is well within the Hridi Guha, the cave inside your own heart. He is sitting there and he is illumining the inert layers from inside, so to say. Yeah, this is only a type of thinking that one will say easy for us to grasp. Really speaking, it is not that when Upanishad says Angushta Matrena, means a size of a thumb, he is sitting inside your Hridi Guha. Really one need not go into that particular aspect. It is to say that Angushta Matrena is only to represent the subtlety of that particular power that being within you illumines the entire koshas, your experience, so to say. Yeah? So here we have seen, so the light in the lake may come and go, but consciousness doesn't come and go. So you cannot really distinguish or switch off the consciousness to say that. Only through meditation, one will be able to skillfully dissociate the consciousness element that is enlivening the inert layers. This is what we have seen, and we need to use this discrimination again and again during our meditation to establish the nature of separation of the consciousness from the inert layers. Asangaha is the word that is used in the text. So asangaha is separation. And how it is done? Only done through the yuktya. Only through the logic we can do that. Experientially, this will remain one with the layers, inert layers, till the physical body drops. And hopefully when the mukti comes, even the other layers one can establish. Yeah, as it pointed out in the samadhi state, it is the realized masters who can understand this. Yeah, it's purely a cognitive process is what we are talking here. And because it is cognitive process, there is no requirement for anybody to change the lifestyle. Although it makes it easy. If you take sannyasa, for example, makes it easy to come out of whatever relationships that are there, makes it easy. So certain stages have been recommended in everybody's life of brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasa, depending upon the stage in one's life. If you follow them, it says it makes it easy, but not a necessity. There are many grihasthas remaining in grihasthavastha. They continue to have this asanga nature of the consciousness. They recognize them, famous being Janaka Maharaj, etc. Yep. In our Puranas. Okay. So this is where we stopped the last class. We will continue with Mahavakya Viveka from verse 43. I'll read verse 43. Yeah. Para paratmano revam yuktya sambhavitaikata tattvamashyadi vakyaihi tattvamashyadi vakyaisa bhagatyagena lakshate. Para paratmano revam yuktya sambhavitaikata tattvamashyadi vakyaihi sa bhagatyagena lakshate. That word sa in between can be taken while chanting in the first, or try to put it on the second segment. Really doesn't matter. Yeah, whichever is convenient, we can do that. Okay. So para paratmanohai. Now self, that is supreme and conditioned. Self means the feeling of I-ness, the awareness that is there. Para, apara. So there are two ways this particular aspect can be looked at. One is supreme and other is conditioned. Apara, apara and para. This is how the self can be experienced normally. Evam yuktya means logically sambhavita. It is established ekata. They are one and the same. Yeah? So although we are thinking that this particular consciousness is individual, through our experience in waking state and dream state and deep sleep state, what we have established is that all these three in individual states, including if you take the experiences of realized masters of Samadhi, all the three states, including, that means that the physical body, the subtle body, and the causal body, Karana Shariram, all three can be dropped yuktya, right? Logically, we have dropped them out and established that the consciousness is separate from all these layers of inert layers of experience that we go through. Tattvamasyadi vakyaihi. Now here, tattvamasya, tattvam asi. I'm sure we all are aware of the Mahavakyas, and one of the famous Mahavakyas that we come across, which is taken up in this particular text, is Tattvam Asi. So a very detailed analysis will be done in the next 2-3 verses as to what this Tattvam Asi is and how we can establish this one and how we should read this particular Mahavakya is being taken up by Swamiji here. And he says, Bhagatyagena, means the methodology that is used for understanding this Mahavakya of Tattvam Asi is called Bhagatyaga Lakshana. Bhagatyaga Lakshyate is indicated. So we will go through this. Swamiji himself will establish what these words are in a very detailed way in the next 3-4 verses. We need not go through at this particular time. What we should understand is normally in Vedanta or in our Shastras, to establish a particular aspect is considered a complete methodology is only when the Shruti says it, it is not against the Yukti, and it is not against the Anubhuti. I'll use these three words again. It is established in Shruti, means Shruti must quote this. Whatever truth that we are trying to establish must be part of the Shrutis, means Vedas or Upanishads that we talk about, or Brahma Sutras or Bhagavad Gita. Shankaracharya took these three as Prasthana Trayi. So at least one of them should be quoting that particular fact that we are trying to establish as the truth. Second is called Yukti, means logically it should make sense. And that is what we have tried to do in the previous verses when we have gone through that particular logic. And Anubhuti, my own experience should also support that. So when we talk about dream dropping the physical body, which is experienced in the waking state, it is our own experience that we are talking about. And experience of the realized masters in Samadhi state is what we look at, that particular consciousness is not part and parcel of these five koshas which define my experience in this earthly plane. Yeah? So Shruti, Yukti, Anubhuti. Important that if you want to establish any statement or any aspect as the complete truth, it should meet all these. That's why in Sanatana Dharma, we don't say that you don't think about it, you don't ask questions, this is what faith is. And once a prophet has told or Shastras have told, and that is end of the subject, no more discussion. We don't believe in that. In fact, most of our books are in the is of the nature of discussion. So whether it is Bhagavad Gita or any Upanishad, it's always that there is a student, there is a guru, and guru will be exploring the truth, and student is allowed to ask questions. However difficult, however inconvenient, but student is allowed to ask questions, and only once he or she is completely convinced of the logic, then only the truth is established as far as Sanatana Dharma is concerned. Yeah? So this unless the argument or a method satisfies these three aspects, it cannot be taken as a complete method to establish the self-knowledge. Okay. So in the last few verses in the text, it is logically proved that oneness of Jivatma and Paramatma, because once the consciousness is defined as Asangaha, it becomes expandable. It is no longer in Hrudi Guha, it is sitting and it is in a prison. And not like that. Once it is Asangaha, the consciousness becomes infinite by nature. That is how the yukti or the logic works. So intellectually, at least I am able to establish I am the consciousness, a possibility. Word used is sambhavana, a possibility. Now, as consciousness as a Brahman, self is defined as immortal. In all our Vedas or Upanishads, when you say, the word that is used is the Brahman or the self is immortal. But my own experience with the body-mind consciousness aspect, which is I'm experiencing as a jiva, definitely is not immortal. One may live for a bit longer than others, but obviously time will catch up. Kalo jagat bhakshaka. That is how Shankaracharya defines Kalaha. Kala is jagat bhakshaka. Whatever is there in the jagat, so-called defined as jagat, and definitely jiva becomes part of the jagat, and Kala will devour that. No body can escape that as such. So jiva cannot claim immortality. But if I look myself as a consciousness, then the possibility always comes up that consciousness might survive. what is dropping is the physical body, but the consciousness, if I define myself as I, that has got a possibility to survive the death of the physical body. And that is what our Shastras tell us as well. Yeah. So the time of rebirth and etc. All those concepts have come with this particular aspect in Sanatana Dharma, that the consciousness, even the subtle body, forget about consciousness, even the subtle body survives. At a subtle level, it survives. Same mind, will it come back in the next Janma? Not necessary. Yeah, depending upon your prarabdha karma and what type of jiva you will become. So it is conditioned by the prarabdha karma, not by the consciousness, so to say. Consciousness remains exactly the same, whether you take birth as a mosquito or whether you take birth as a human being. Okay? Consciousness remains the same. However, the mind that is given to that particular life, jiva, is conditioned by the prarabdha that you are coming with for that particular life. Yeah. So the self is felt in all the three bodies, whether I am waking state or it is the subtle body in the dream state or the deep sleep state, which is the causal body. All three bodies, the self is there. And that is why we say that the self actually goes through all the three states. However, the other things are not there. So we have established in that yukti is used for that particular this. But once the self is beyond the three bodies, the limitations of space and time will not apply to that particular consciousness anymore, is how the tarka, the logic goes. Yeah? So in Shastras, this is revealed by what we define as the Mahavakya. I hope all of you remember there are 4 Mahavakyas which normally we quote in Vedanta. Yeah, there may be many, but one of them is Tattvamasi, that thou art, means that you are, is how the Tattvam Asi. This comes in Chandogya Upanishad. The second one, we can call it as Aham Brahmasmi. And this particular Aham Brahmasmi comes in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Aham Brahma Asmi. Me and Brahman are one and the same. And third one is Prajnanam Brahma, means that particular Jnanam, that Prajnanam is wisdom. That wisdom is defined as Brahma, is the third Mahavakya, comes in Aitreya Upanishad. And Ayam Atma Brahma comes in Mandukya Upanishad of Atharvana Veda. So Aitreya Upanishad, that Prajnanam Brahma comes from Rig Veda. And Aham Brahmasmi comes in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and it comes in Yajur Veda. And Chandogya Upanishad, the Tattvamasi that we will be looking at, comes in Sama Veda. So basically they have taken these 4 Mahavakyas from 4 Upanishads coming from 4 different Vedas just as a representative. Yeah? It is not that only these 4 are there. No. Every Upanishad, in fact, will have maybe more than one Mahavakya, so to say, because the entire, that's why Shankaracharya says that the concept of oneness of Jiva and Paramatma, Jivatma and Paramatma, is the only message that all Upanishads will give. Why it is so important? Because experientially they look different. When we define this Jivatma, Paramatma, obviously it appears to be different. Even Upanishads, what they are telling. So Mahavakyas become important in the form of how to interpret this entire Vedas, so that I always end up with the same conclusion. Whatever Upanishad I read, I come up with the same conclusion as either Tattvamasi or Aham Brahmasmi or Prajnanam Brahma or Ayam Atma Brahma. So all the 4 actually indicates that Paramatma who appear to be different, who appear to be defined to be different by the same Upanishad, but actually in speaking they are the one and the same. I hope all of us we read this Kathopanishad. In fact, I think we went through that previous to this class as well. In that, Guruji mentioned one more Mahavakya from Kathopanishad, which says that Etad Vaitat. Etad Vaitad. Many verses in the third chapter, in the second, this one, it actually goes through, ends with this Etad Vaitad. It's a Mahavakya, by the way, like Guruji has explained, and exactly the same. Or in Chandogya Upanishad, you have another very important verse, Ekameva Advitiyam Brahma. So, Ekameva Advitiyam Brahma. So, Advaita comes from that particular term there, and it comes from Chandogya Upanishad. Again, a Mahavakya. Soham, it comes from Isha Upanishad, Ishavasya Upanishad. So, aham so. So, that and me are one and the same. So there are many Mahavakyas spread across all the Upanishads. However, these four, as I mentioned, are taken as the representative sample from each of the Vedas. Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharvana. Anyway, so what we will be looking at is, in this particular text, is Tattvamasi. As I mentioned, that is what we will be looking at. Yeah? And for understanding the right meaning of this word, the verse says that we employ a methodology called Bhagatyaga Lakshana. What is this Bhagatyaga Lakshana? So whenever we want to convey certain meaning, we have to use words. Yeah, that is normal. Any response, we use words to convey certain meaning. If the object that I would like to reveal is used, if the word that I am using is indicating that particular object in totality, yeah, then we call that as Vachyartha. Vachyartha is the meaning of the word, meaning of the sentence is exactly in line with what I am trying to describe. My father's name is Raghunatha. When I use this sentence, it's pretty clear. There is nothing Bhagatyaga or nothing interpretative about that particular statement. Whatever the words indicate is what I am trying to convey. Yeah? So this is called Vachyartha. But sometimes we actually say something, but try to indicate something else in a way. And when we do that, it is called Lakshyartha. Means the goal is different. The word used is different. Yeah? So this particular thing, for example, when I see a particular person, I say, I saw you. I saw so and so. I can say that particular this one. But normally when we see only one portion of it. For example, somebody is walking ahead. I know that particular person so well that I can recognize the person even from behind. I don't require to see the face. I will say, there goes so and so. Really speaking, what I am seeing is only one portion of you, a portion of that particular person, but I come to the conclusion that it is the totality that I will be telling when I say that that is the person who is going in front. Or for example, there are many houses, one next to each other, and if somebody asks me, where does Mr. Shastri stays, and I will say that he is in that White House. Now unfortunately, there are more than one White House there. So the natural question will come as to which White House we are talking about. Then I will say one next to the red one. Now, if I take only the meaning of that red one, the red one can be anything. It can be a flower. It can be anything which is representing in the red color. But because we are talking about houses, when I say one next to the red one automatically the person will interpret as the red house, and next to that red house, hopefully there's only one red house where the White House is next to it, and person will understand that this is the red house that we are talking about, and the red one will be interpreted as the red house. Okay? So here, Bhagatyaga Lakshana, Sorry, am I audible still? Can somebody confirm?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Okay, so this taking a lakshartha is something which we normally do in our day-to-day life without any problem. We do that. Yeah. So when the word I is used, primarily meaning the three bodies and the Chaitanya. Three bodies are what? Stula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, and Karana Sharira, and the consciousness associated with each one of them. We have established that during the Yukti period. Yeah. But when I say, for example, I say I am fat, I am definitely looking at only the Bhagavritti. Means I am only talking about physical body there. I am not talking about the consciousness. So Annamaya Kosha, the gross body, I am referring to as the fat, and that I meaning no longer includes the consciousness aspect which is there, part and parcel of your normal definition. So, but when we talk about self is all pervading, when we say self is all pervading, which is beyond the scope of three bodies that we are talking about, it can only mean the consciousness or the Chaitanya. It cannot be a physical body or the subtle body that we are talking about. It obviously goes well beyond the three bodies. Now, by giving up one portion of the Jivatma, what it is trying to say is that we understand the true meaning of the word when it calls that self is all perfect. So Bhagatyaga, by dropping one portion of that particular words or the meaning of the words, I am able to arrive at what that particular aspect is telling us. Yeah? Similarly, Brahman can be understood only when you take the right portion of the word I. When we say this Mahavakya, Tattvamasi, right portion must be taken as that particular I, and that will allow you to define and understand this Mahavakya is what Swamiji will be putting it. Yeah? He is coming to that particular spot. Otherwise, if you really take only the full meaning of Jivatma and Paramatma, Tat and Tvam, that omniscient, omnipotent Lord can never be taken as the limited Jiva that I am, that I feel I am, and I am. As a Jiva, one is limited because you are defining the Jivatma through the upadhis of the three bodies. It cannot be the same. They can never be the same. So to understand this word Tattvamasi, we need to analyze these three words and try to arrive at the correct meaning by Bhagatyaga, dropping that portion which is not the correct one to understand. That is how we will be looking at in the next 3-4 verses. Okay. Any questions here before we move? Because we will be analyzing this Tattvamasi now. Okay. Verse 44. Yeah. Jagato yudupade sorry. Jagato yadupadanam Mayamadaya tamasim nimittam shuddha sattvam tam uchyate brahma tadgira jagato yadupadanam Mayamadaya tamasim nimittam shuddha sattvam tam uchyate brahma tadgira. So here, Jagato, Jagat means universe, yeah? Upadanam. Upadanam is the material cause. And Mayam of Maya, Adaya, related with Tamasi. The Tamasic aspect of the Prakriti, we have seen that, is the one which defines the Upadana Karanam. And Nimittam. Nimittam is the efficient cause. And Shuddha Sattvam Tam is made up of the Sattva element, Shuddha Sattvam, aspect of the Maya, and Uchyate is indicated Brahman Tad Gira by the word that Tat Gira. By that particular word Tat, what it means is that same Brahman is the both Upadana Karanam and Nimitta Karanam. So that is how the word Tat must be understood, is being told here. Yeah? So Brahman means that awareness consciousness with the sattva aspect of Maya is the Nimitta Karanam for this entire world, or the intelligent cause of the Jagat, Jagato, the universe that we are talking about. And the material cause of the universe is this Upadana Karanam, is what is made of the tamasic aspect of the Maya, and the same Brahman, when reflected through this tamasic aspect of the Maya, reflects as the Upadana Karanam, or the material cause for this entire life. That Brahman who becomes the Nimitta Karanam and Upadana Karanam is being defined by that word Tat in the Mahavakya of Tattvam Asi. So the entire full meaning of Tat is being explained here. Yeah. I hope all of you remember these two words we have gone through many times before in terms of Upadana Karanam and Nimitta Karanam. For those people who have not heard this before, or want a quick review, anything intelligently put together, anything intelligently put together will have, and this is what we ask also, that will have a material cause and a intelligent cause. So if a bread is there, there is a material cause of dough, and there is an intelligent cause of the baker. Only when a baker, intelligent cause, knows what is being produced and how it should be produced, a particular object that is intelligently put together can come out. And nobody can deny the fact that this world appears to be very, very intelligently put together. Whether you take the forces that are there operating, or the fact that the seasons come and go at a very regular sequence, whether it is the revolution of the earth, the rotation of the earth, the moon, the spacing between them, everything is so intelligently put together that if somebody is telling that it has come just on its own, it is like telling if one is digging the earth in archaeology and finds a small piece of clay with some writing or color, immediately we recognize that this is an intelligently made object, and it is not a natural substance which has come on its own. So if a car is imported into a country, nobody will think that it has just come out of earth on its own. People will ask who manufactured this, who is the manufacturer, etc. Because we know that it is an intelligently put together aspect which nobody can deny. Similarly, this Jagat is an intelligently put together, and here we are telling that particular Jagat Karanam, both intelligent and material cause, the Nimitta Karana and Upadana Karana, is that Brahman, but with two different upadhis. One upadhi is the made up of Sattva Guna, and other upadhi is made up of Tamoguna. Yeah? So tamasic aspect of Maya, avidya, is responsible for the material creation, and the intelligence that you see in the world is coming from the Nimitta Karana, which comes from the Sattva Guna. Yeah? We have seen this before, but this both Jagat Karanam is one and the same. And some of the Upanishads, Mundaka Upanishad gives actually the like a very famous example in our Upanishads is the spider. Spider is the intelligent cause as well as the material cause, because material cause, it doesn't go searching from anywhere. It produces the material cause for the web from its own body, and it exactly knows how the web should be woven in exactly beautiful this ones. It actually gives it weaves the web, yeah, like spider. So this is like that we say that Brahman is the both the Nimitta Karana and Upadana Karana. Anyway, that particular intelligence, which is both intelligent cause and the material cause, is referred to by this word of Tat. That is the complete definition of this word Tat given by Swamiji here. Next, we define the word Tvam in verse 45. Yada malina sattvam tam kama karmadi dushitam adatte tatparam brahma tvam padena tadochyate. Yada malina sattvam tam kama karmadi dushitam adatte tatparam brahma tvam padena tadochyate. So here the word tvam padena uchyate. It is said that tvam padena is the same Supreme Brahman. Tatparam Brahman, what he is doing, malina sattvam is from the impure sattva. Means impure means what? It is combined with rajas and tamasic aspects which are there, is malina sattvam. Tam kama karmadi dushitam. He says it is tainted by desires and action, kama and karma. See how wonderfully Swamiji is putting here in terms of defining that Tvam. Tvam, we normally take it as that particular Tvam means Jivatma. But here, instead of telling it is Jivatma, Swamiji is defining this as Kama Karmadi Doshita. Means this Kama and Karma, how this Kama and karma is coming, why he is bringing this particular two aspects which are there, is that Jiva, if you really see, is defined by desire. That's why we talk about that Vasana, the inclination which is there is responsible for triggering desire. So when we do our meditation, what we do, we try to reduce the aspect of this desire, which is coming up, or even if the desire is there, the desire is for general good. So for example, without desire, life is not possible. Yeah? Without breath, life is not possible. Similarly, without desire, life is not possible. So a realized master also, as long as he is continuing in this particular world, requires this desire to bring him back into this world. Moment complete desire is annihilated, then survival is not possible. So here we are, the Swamiji is talking about that particular avidya. Why avidya? Malina sattva. When malina sattva is there, it means that rajas and tamasic aspects are mixing with this particular sattva, and because sattva is now contaminated, the knowledge is lost. Pure sattva is equal to Ishvara. Ishvara is equal to full knowledge. So he becomes Sarveshvara, Sarva Vidwan. Everything is full as far as Ishvara is concerned. What makes Jiva a Jiva is Malina Sattva. The moment that particular Sattva is contaminated, the knowledge of our true nature is lost for the Jiva. And we need to overcome this particular ignorance or avidya and overcome this particular avidya to reach that particular state of vidya. Yeah? So that is why we call all our Shastras, all our Upanishads as the knowledge. We define that as the knowledge. Even Ishvara is defined as knowledge. Yeah? And when this avidya as the upadhi, we fail to recognize our true nature as consciousness, what will Jiva do? Because my nature is of Satchidananda. So Ananda, the joy, is my true nature. However, because of this veiling, I am not able to recognize my true nature. So mind automatically is projected outside, searching for this joy. And how that joy will come? Only through the desire. When a desire is created in the mind, action is taken to fulfill that particular desire, and temporarily I gain that particular aspect of Ananda or the joy. But unfortunately, because my desire, my mind, everything is limited, the joy I get also is limited, and hence I keep on looking one desire after the other, and whole life is going only in terms of this kama and karma. Kama, karma, kama, karma. There is no end to this. That's why very cleverly Swamiji is putting here, yada malina sattvantam kama karmadi dushitam. It is contaminated. Whole world is contaminated as a jiva with this kama and karma. So unless you come out of this cycle of karma and karma, it is not possible for us to recognize that particular aspect of sattva, which is the knowledge of Ishvara, and that particular thing only will allow you to recognize this tattvam asi. So very beautifully Swamiji is telling, defining this tvam as that particular aspect of malina sattvam, means avidya, pushing you into this kama karma. So he says contaminated by this kama and karma, this avidya is the one which is defined as tvam. So tat is defined. Now tvam is also defined. Yeah. Before I go to 46, any questions about tat and tvam? Okay, 46 verse, yeah. Tritayim apitam muktva paraspara virodhinim akhandam satchidanandam mahavakyena lakshyate. Tritayim apitam muktva paraspara virodhinim akhandam satchidanandam mahavakyena lakshyate. So Tritayim, the three, api even tam, that Maya which is actually there, muktva, having rejected. So once we reject the Tritayim, we will go into this Tritayim word once more. He says that there is certain aspects which are virodhinam, paraspara virodhinam. Mutually, they are contradictory. On one side, we say that tat is that particular aspect which is nimitta and upadana karanam, both for this entire jagat. And the other one, tvam, we are telling that it is the avidya, which is the kama karmadi dushitam. But we are telling both are one and the same by this word, Mahavakya of Tattvam Asi. So they are mutually, completely mutually contradictory aspects, and we are trying to link these two together in terms of this Mahavakya. So there must be a laksha associated this Mahavakya. It cannot be the direct meaning of Vachyarth. So the word that is used is lakshyate. So the Mahavakyas that are there, they're mutually contradicting aspects of Maya. They must be dropped before we understand the word of or the sentence Mahavakya of Tattvamasi, is how it is being told here. Okay? One indivisible Brahman with the nature of existing consciousness bliss remains with three mutually contradictory aspects of Maya. Yeah? And they must be dropped. And this is indicated, he says, with the Mahavakyas of Tattvamasi. Now, the meaning of the word or a statement, as I mentioned, can be either direct or through import, drawn by secondary meanings. So, our Shastras go into so many details of understanding Upanishad, understanding each word that comes in Upanishads is a very important science that is there in our Shastras. For example, when you talk about Brahmavakyas which are there associated with this, it actually talks about each word of certain Upanishads. For example, Shankaracharya takes 10 Upanishads, and in his Bhashyam, he analyzes each and every word that comes in these Upanishads and why that particular word must be interpreted as this particular aspect only. For example, Atma. Word Atma can come in any of the, in fact, it comes in most of the Upanishads, the Atma word comes. But each Atma can be either defined as a Dehatma, or it can be Manoatma, it can be intellect, it can be your Anandamaya Kosha. Atma can be defined in so many ways as far as the word itself is concerned. So, if a particular verse is using the word Atma, Shankaracharya gives a technical reason as to why that particular word Atma should be interpreted as so and so, so and so, so and so. So, if you go into Shankara Bhashyam on any of these particular Shankara Bhashyam on these 10 Upanishads which are there, very, very detailed explanation and analysis is there in terms of understanding each word. So here, no wonder he is talking about that how we must understand this word Tattvamasi to arrive at the true meaning of this Mahavakya and why it is considered as Mahavakya. Yeah. So, for example, Shakya Vritti is one type of, or Abhidha Vritti. There are two words that are there, Shakya Vritti or Abhidha Vritti. When we are talking of direct meaning of any word, it is referred to as the Shakya Vritti. Means the Vritti itself is direct meaning. Vachyarth. No need for you to interpret that particular word. So if I say I bought a sky blue t-shirt, I brought it to a sky blue t-shirt. Everybody knows what is sky blue and it is colored and it is a t-shirt. Pretty clear meaning, direct meaning. No need to interpret that particular word. So that is called Shakya Vritti or Abhidha Vritti. Second one is called Lakshana Vritti. Lakshana Vritti is where we try to understand a particular word through an import. Means we try to understand not direct meaning, but an indirect meaning is normally used. And in that, there are again divided, Lakshana Vritti is divided into two. I am giving all this because this is how our Shastras actually read the entire texts that are there. And once Swamijis give a filtered meaning, it becomes easy. However, if you really go into the details and try to understand each and every word, we need to go through this kind of a methodology in trying to understand the words. Yeah, very, very complex when it comes to that. One is called Jahal Lakshana. Jahal Lakshana is when you completely drop a particular word meaning of the word that is given, but you understand the word in a completely different sense. So that is called Jahal Lakshana. Again, when a soldier is coming back, this is again Gurudev's example. When a soldier comes back after a battle, winning a battle, people will say, see, a lion is coming. The lion is coming. Lokmanya Tilak is referred to as the lion. Means what? Everybody knows when a soldier is come back from a battlefield, winning the battle, and somebody is referring to as that lion is coming, the word meaning of the lion is completely dropped, and it says that a brave soldier like a lion is coming back from the battlefield, for example. Yeah? So this is called Jahal Lakshan. So we need to understand just because a word is used does not mean we take the literal meaning. It can be an imported meaning by completely dropping the word meaning. It is called Jahal Lakshan. And second one is called Ajahal Lakshan. Ajahal Lakshana means what? Not dropping the word, but adding something else. Suppose somebody gives you a bunch of roses of different colors, which is there. And you say, I love that yellow one. Means what? Yellow is retained, but person will automatically add the word rose because it is the bunch of roses that is being presented. And you are telling that I love this yellow one. So the word rose is added to the word yellow to understand the complete meaning of the particular word that is used. Yeah, yellow word that is used. And this is called Ajahal Lakshana. So we are not dropping the word, but we are adding something depending upon the circumstance that is there around. Third one is called Bhagatyaga Lakshan. Means I actually not add anything, neither it is a complete dropping, but I actually drop only portion of it is called Bhagatyaga Lakshan. So this Bhagatyagana is partially dropping. And again, our Shastras, our Shankaracharya's examples, stock example that he normally uses is Devdatta. Devdatta's example is normally given for this Bhagatyaga Lakshan. Means what? Your friend is there, whom you are living in a village. A friend is there, and he has got a son who is named as Devdatta. Now, once he reaches 5 years or 7 years old, he is sent off to education. He goes off and he returns after a long period of 16 years, for example. And when you go to your friend's place, you suddenly see a young man in the front veranda who opens the door for you. And you ask, your friend is there? He says, yeah, he's there. My father is there. Please come and sit down. And he calls out his father. And father comes out and he says, this is Devdatta. Now, your own memory of that Devdatta was a young boy of 5-year-old who left the town. Now, in front of you, you see a completely different person, a grown-up man, young man, who has come back, and father introduces him as the same Devdatta. This is a stock example. Means what? Your memory, you are dropping off that small boy, and now you are seeing a particular person whom you cannot recognize as the same boy from the memory that you have. But since it is coming from your best friend, a reliable source, and the person himself, Devdatta, telling that he is Devdatta, the aspects which are contrary are dropped, and the aspect which is Devdatta as your friend son is taken from mutually contradictory experiences that you have with that particular same person is the stock example of this Bhagatyaga Lakshan. Okay? So this particular aspect is called Jahal Ajalhal Lakshan. Jahal Ajahal Lakshan. Anyway, doesn't matter really speaking, Bhagatyaga Lakshan. And just to complete this particular topic, we have something called Vyangyartha. Vyangyartha is a suggested meaning, which normally poets use, while doing that. Certain sarcastic way of telling, or this one is called Vyangyartha. So Vyangyartha is the third way of understanding the words, is how we must understand language as per our scriptures as concerned. So when Tattvamasi is indicated, the technique that one must use, Swamiji is telling, is that Bhagatyaga Lakshana or Jahal Ajahal Lakshana. You can use any word, but the term that is used here is Bhagatyaga Lakshana. So depending upon the context, this Mahavakya of Tattvamasi we must understand as we drop that particular aspect of Tvam, which includes the 3 inert layers, which is covered with this avidya, and the terms that are used is kama karmadi dushitam. That Tvam has also got consciousness element, which is part and parcel of that. Similarly, when we define that Tat as the person or a jiva, you can call that also as a jiva, but that particular creator who is both intelligent and the material cause of this entire jagat that we talk about, we drop even the creator status of that Ishvara, and we take that as the consciousness which is made it possible. And that Bhagavan who is reflecting through Sattva Guna, Bhagavan that is reflecting through Tamo Guna, that consciousness aspect must be retained, and all the other aspects that are associated either with Jiva, that is the Tvam, or the Ishvara, that is Tat, that consciousness aspect one requires, then only the sentence Mahavakya makes sense of Tat and Tvam being one and the same. So the Ishvaratvam is dropped, Jivatvam is dropped. However, the consciousness element which makes up this Ishvara and Jiva is retained to understand the Mahavakya of Tattvam Asi. So this is how the entire aspect is being told as to how one needs to understand this particular Mahavakya of Tattvam Asi. Okay, it's 8:45 on the hour, so we will stop here. And I will stay back for any questions, but we will stop the class. Yeah. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. This particular lecture is mostly technical. Certain words are used. If we are not used to them, it may be difficult to retain, difficult to follow. But most of them, we have fortunate that many of the Swamijis have used them before. So I hope it is not completely new. Otherwise, you can always review this particular lecture to go through, so that you can grasp what is being told here. More technical aspects are covered as to how one must understand the Mahavakya, because as I told, Shruti is also a very important aspect. Where did they say that Jivatma, Paramatma are the same? That question might come, because that is what Yukti we have done. We have separated out the consciousness from the inert layers, etc. So here we are bringing in the Shruti in terms of understanding the Shruti also said by telling that Tattvam Asi. Yeah? So this is how the logic of the Vidyaranyaji comes into picture, trying to understand the import of our complete Upanishads. Yeah. Okay. Any questions, please? Okay. Great then. No further questions means we will, hopefully we are meeting next week. Any idea? Is Abhinandaji there in the class today?
Yes. I don't see why we shouldn't meet.
Okay.
Everybody,
I'm available, no problem from my side.
Yes, agree? Okay.
All right. So
we're meeting next week, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Shankar.
Thank you, Shankarji.
Thank you. Bye.
Shankarji.
Thank you, Hariom. Suman and others, I would like you to think about going to particular movie which is coming Friday on a special request. It is about Kashmir Exodus.
Yes.
And it is called the
Kashmir Files.
So try to watch it, please.
Is it in the theaters, or
it is arranged by special request, so details will be given shortly.
Okay.
It's going to be on 18th of this month, which is Friday.
18th.
18th.
Yeah. Would you send us the information then?
Okay, if I get on time, yes, I will send you, but just keep the evening free. It most likely is in the evening.
18th is
Friday.
Vivek Chudamani.
Yes.
Evening.
Yes.
Okay.
It may conflict with that, but just because I wasn't sure whether it will be sure. If there are different times, if I come to know, I will let you know.
Sure. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Does she have Vivek Chudamani, or is she closed for the next 2 weeks?
No, she's going to
Oh.
do that day.
We are not doing it on April 1st. So 18th, we all agreed.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, everybody, I was thinking when Vanita will be here at the end, and I will just sing 2 lines of that happy
For her
birthday
birthday.
for her.
Yes.
Janam dinam ay priye sakhe.
Yes.
Shamsanotu te sarvada mudam, but she is gone, so it's her birthday today.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vinita's birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday
So
to
happy
her.
birthday, Vanita.
Please convey if you are meeting her or talking to her from my
Sure,
side.
we'll
as well.
do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
thank
Okay,
you.
sir.
Thank you, Shankarji.
Jai Gurudev.
Hari Om.